Well, Jim, let's focus on some of the other things going on in and around the world of professional wrestling. I have audio here that a lot of listeners have sent in. A lot of people have wanted to get your take on. The first batch of audio, Dave Meltzer apparently went on...
Now, wait a minute. Hold on here. We're going to play Dave Meltzer's audio from one of his programs. Can we get sued for this?
Well, no, we're reviewing it. It's fair use. We're actually going to talk about what's said, and we're going to talk about our thoughts on what's being said. So we are in
No. I'm not talking about Dave suing us. I'm talking about English teachers across America suing us.
Why would they sue us?
For the way Dave speaks. As Aunt Lola used to say, is he going to go around his elbow to get to his wrist before he makes a point on this? I know the words he uses are English. I've heard them used individually before, but never in the order in which they come out of his mouth.
I think we're safe from that lawsuit. I could be wrong. I have to check with Stephen P. New, but I believe we are safe.
All right. Well, is he going to make a point?
I don't know. You see, no, because here's the thing. A lot of people got in touch with me the other day, right before the Drive-Thru came out. Was it the Drive-Thru? No, this is the Drive-Thru. Right before the Experience came out.
Yeah.
And they said Dave went on his show, and I heard different things from different people. Dave apologized. I heard there's a lot of hand-wringing going on. Different people have different takes on these things. I figured, let me hear it. Jace Nakarado went through. Jace Nakarado sent me notes. I couldn't make rhyme or reason out of them. And it's not Jace's fault. So we have a little bit of audio. Let's hear what this is. But this is going to be Dave and his co-host / partner, Brian Alvarez, business partner, Brian Alvarez.
Now, wait a minute. Now,
I don't mean anything funny there. I meant business partner. I just said partner.
Well, why does your mind automatically go into sexual thing?
That's not where my mind is going here, but let's go to this.
And then we'll come back and try to tell you what they actually said after you hear what they said.
That's right. Let's go to this.
Anything new on CM Punk today?
No, nothing new today. No. As far as, it's like, this is twice that, like, I went through freaking guilt trip, because the first time, if you recall, was when he did the thing, he did quote in Sports Illustrated, and he's like, the Young Bucks called Dave Meltzer and blah, blah, blah about whatever, which was a couple weeks before the big blow up. And so I thought, I just, whatever he said. And then everything happened there. And you all know that, I thought that it's like, man, I should have just told him that the Young Bucks had nothing to do with it. Now, do I really believe anything would happen differently? Probably not, but it's like...
Well, let me stop.
Okay, well, yeah, we're supposed to be doing our job as reviewers and or commentators commenting on... I haven't yet understood what the fuck... I know the subject he's talking about, and I still don't know what he's trying to fucking say.
Well, one thing he did say there is, looking back now, he should have gone to CM Punk a year ago or whatever it was and said, I just want you to know the Young Bucks were not my source for, I guess, the Colt Cabana story originally.
Well, yeah, I guess we should have prefaced this because nobody would have been able to figure it out. There's all kinds of drama been going on. We talked about some of it on the last show with Punk having to refute things that Dave brought up out of basically the ether because his sources told him these things when it appeared that it might be getting close to Punk coming back to work. So they went to stir shit up, and Dave went along with it and printed it. We talked about that on the last program, where upon at that point, Punk came back and said, no, Moxley wanted to do Rocky III and this and that and the other thing. And now Dave is apparently saying he feels bad and is trying to somehow apologize for being in the midst, starting all of this shit to begin with. Is that a clear summation? And I don't even know what I just said.
No, it's not a clear summation, but I think to even try to make it more clear or less clear, we'll see how this goes. What he's referencing here is the previous time. This time now that got Punk on Instagram to comment wasn't in print. This was on his message board. That's the difference. But let's go back. Let's hear a little bit more from Dave about this.
Just don't know. And it's like, I kind of feel like it wasn't my job to do it, but it kind of was. I'm not kind of job, but I just felt really bad and real guilty about, like, I should have said, like, these guys had nothing to do with this, but whatever. So then this time, it's like I did a message board post that I really wish I never did, because so much has happened since then, in so many destructive ways, not just him, but,
let me stop there. That's interesting. Because so many people have jumped on Dave's behavior in the last several years, specifically on Twitter, where I don't know what you would call it, and I'm sure he may see it differently than other people perceive it, but rudeness, snarkiness, condescension, talking down to people, insulting people,
Well, but I mean, and not even, it's like not even people that are going after him or people with a platform. It's just everybody that says something that contradicts an opinion that he has given or written. He will search them out, find them, argue it down to the goddamn nub. Or if he gets on, like when he got on my bandwagon there for a while, where it was like, hey, Dave, what'd you have for lunch? Well, Cornette doesn't know. Just apropos of nothing. Yeah, blah, 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 whatever. And this is a guy that writes tens of thousands of words a week and does these podcasts and obviously watches a lot of fucking modern wrestling. And he has the time to argue with people on Twitter that have 3 followers that tweet him that they don't like the fucking Buckaroos or whatever. And he will beat him to death with it. Does he ever sleep? Is that the problem? He's not sleeping.
Well, we'll talk about Helix in a little bit, but that's kind of the point too. He behaves one way on Twitter, and a lot of people have pointed to it and said it's a strategy. Dave has said that this has gotten me more, subscribers, I guess would be the word. So obviously there is a business aspect to it, but his message board, it's a little different. That's not a big open forum. That is something that people pay to get into. There are people who subscribe to their website, him and Brian Alvarez, and the message board is a feature that they pay for. So behind that paywall, you even get a different Dave. Remember, so much of the drama that he stirred up with you started because we started getting people sending us things from his message board that he was saying in private, at the same time he was emailing you all sorts of pleasantries all the time and compliments on the show.
Pleasantries. Yes, you are correct. And then his insidious nature came to light and he wouldn't fucking leave it alone. But that's this message board that he's got. This is where he writes this stuff. This is where his most devoted fans are because they have to pay to read it and to participate in it. And that's where this latest inflammatory business came up that Punk then had to jump on and respond to. And now Dave he said he feels bad. He should have never wrote it. Well, maybe you should have asked somebody else besides whoever it is you're talking to before you did write it.
Maybe you should think twice before anything you put on social media, Dave, but let's go back to the audio.
Somebody just going, one thing we can say for us, like, it was all smooth as far as the match that he lost to Moxley, the real quick match before he beat him for the title. And I just, kind of said it really wasn't that smooth because it really wasn't. There was a lot going on. And, there was drama and everything. And when I said it, it wasn't writing a news story or anything like that. But when I said, I never said, a lot of it had to do with his injury, and it did. It's like in his defense, he was coming back from a broken foot, and it was a serious injury.
Let's stop it right there. That's exactly right. You told one perspective of the story, completely leaving out his defense, as you put it, which was that he had a broken foot.
He had a broken foot, and that the people that wanted to squash him were saying he didn't need to be medically cleared to participate in a squash. To which point I responded, you do if you're the one taking the fucking bumps. Yeah, and now we find out, and remember, several people pointed it out on Twitter also. Remember, I said in that pay-per-view match, it looked like Moxley came out with job face And apparently, because Tony Khan was so out of control of his locker room that he's got Moxley, who's the interim champion, wrestling without a contract at all. He's got Punk, who's not medically cleared to come back and get the belt back. That Moxley doesn't want to put Punk over until Punk puts him over because of the Rocky 3 defense. And Tony can't make Moxley do anything because he's not under contract. But here in the meantime, your big fucking babyface star is coming back from injury, and he can't fucking win the title back that he never lost to begin with unless he does a squash job for this delusional fucking plumber that you've got working for you under no contract that could go anywhere he wanted at any time he wanted. What kind of fucking Booker of the Year? Jesus H. Christ, go ahead.
Well, Dave didn't put any of that in his post on the message board as well, but let's go back to the audio.
And, that played into it, as far as, when he was going to be ready. And it, like the angle, whatever you think of the angle, I mean, the angle could have worked, the way the angle was, and it's like the whole Rocky 3 thing. It's like, if you had more time, the angle probably it would have been better if you had more time, but because of the injury, you didn't have more time. And yeah, there's things they could have done, but the whole point.
So in Rocky 3, what was, let me get this. In Rocky 3, was Clubber Lang the interim champion? And everybody's drawing all these parallels to Rocky 3. No, it's not. No, there's not. I don't see any.
The one question I have now coming out of this, there was a spectacular segment with Punk and Ace Steel. Remember that? Where Ace Steel was in the ring and then Punk came out, he slapped Punk in the face?
Yeah.
Was that part of the Rocky 3 storyline? Because remember, in Rocky 3...
Well, there was the surrogate Mickey.
Well, Mickey dies in Rocky 3. Clubber Lang causes his heart attack in the back. Was Ace Steel going to die on AEW TV? Like, where's the story?
Apparently,
what's the Rocky
if Moxley
part?
had his way, no, the whole thing at Clubber Lang is an awful monster heel. He's not a fucking babyface like Moxley was. Remember, that's why we said the whole thing's fucked up. Punk, the babyface champion, coming back to win the title that he never lost in the ring against another babyface. And then we found out that the babyface doesn't want to do a job for Punk unless Punk does a job for him first in a squash. Well, boy, that's a revolutionary angle. Hey, before I put you over, I'm going to beat you in about 2 minutes flat in the middle of the ring. People won't see that coming. No, they sure didn't.
And I refuse to do it any other way.
Yeah, there's no similarities with Rocky 3 otherwise than in the deluded mind of John Moxley, who maybe has been down under that sink sniffing the fucking liquid plumber too much.
Well, it's nice to think an episode of AEW could have ended with CM Punk and Carl Weathers fighting it out at the end, but let's go back to some more audio from Dave.
The point is that like it's like a message board post that I didn't need to make, and I didn't mention the fact that the injury was part of it, in the fact that there was drama, which there was. So it's just like, there was. And so I feel really bad about it. And then, he goes and like, it's not like, like him saying, Dave Meltzer's a liar. I mean, that's just, I hear stuff like that on a daily basis, and it's, I try never to do that, but it's like, whatever. It's like, I felt like, what? I wasn't really thinking. I didn't really tell the whole story. And that's the thing. And then everything happens from there. And
so, I mean, basically, and I think I actually think Dave's doing for Dave as good. He's trying as hard as he can to say he's sorry.
I thought you were going to say he's trying as hard as he can to be clear.
He's trying to be aware of his behavior, it sounds like. And whether he is or isn't.
Hey, if he hits that awareness mode, and maybe his whole world will change.
Well, let's get away from Ray Khan and let's get back to Dave Khan here. Any thoughts on this?
I still don't know what the fuck he's saying. He speaks at colleges?
Apparently, let's hear a little bit more of his speaking.
It's, and again, it's almost the same thing because it's like, okay, I mean, it's funny how different people take what I call the shrapnel. Because I remember one time, somebody was mad at me, and I go, "What are you mad at?" And then they said, it's like, well, Brian said blah blah blah, and it's like, I'm not Brian. And by the way, and it wasn't fair to what you said either, but whatever, that has nothing to do with it. And so then it's like,
what the fuck?
He kind of blasted Moxley to a bit, and certainly blasted Jericho. And it's like, this was, at the time when everyone is trying to, see if you can make up and make this thing work and do the best thing for the company. And
you were used as a tool to get the drama out there.
Is everybody trying, or is one side trying and the other side is using tools to get drama out?
The other thing too, and we'll talk more about this because we have John Moxley audio to play too. So I may say this a few times. This all comes back to Tony Khan. This all comes back to, from the very beginning of CM Punk getting there, he has managed things wrong even while things were going right. And you can look at the Bobby Fish match. If there was or wasn't an element that wanted CM Punk there, if you're the boss, you're the one that needs to snuff that out or needs to figure out what you're going to do. But all of the drama, I actually think, if you really think about it, Punk and the Bucks and Omega and Moxley and Jericho, they're all pawns in this fucking game. The drama's been allowed to happen because of Tony Khan, and in a lot of cases it's been spread because of Dave.
And also, a lot of people are still not getting the picture of Jericho's involvement in this when, no, he wasn't in the fight. And he wasn't in the press scrum. He didn't, have any part in the press scrum or whatever. But have you noticed that anytime that Punk fires back at what he perceives to be people on a slander campaign against him, people trying to get people to call him a cancer in the locker room, the people that are behind it, Jericho always gets mentioned. And, a lot of times when somebody is engaging in a slander campaign against you at your workplace, you might know that they are doing it, but the general public doesn't. So they might not understand why you would mention somebody like that, but you know who the fuck's putting the mouth on you behind your back, as Dennis Coralluzzo used to say. And so I find it interesting that Jericho adopts this, I'm so innocent, I'm above all that, I don't want to get involved in this, but he's always the one mentioned when somebody fires back from the other side.
Because he's always involved. Let's go to hear some more audio.
Then this happens, which just, how it's going to turn out, who the hell knows, but it certainly is never a good time to do that, and Jericho had absolutely nothing to do with this message post, nor did Moxley, and it's just.
So let's circle around that real quick. This message board post, he's already said the Bucks from previously had nothing to do with it. Moxley had nothing to do with it. Jericho had nothing to do with it. If we're going to assume that Punk had nothing to do with it, considering it wasn't favorable to him,
then somebody not related to anything involved in this told him something, and he didn't ask anybody that was involved in it before he talked about it.
Or it's Tony Khan. Let's go to more audio.
Just like whatever. Now it's like, oh God, I just didn't like this. I'm just really sad that it happened this way. I want the best thing for the business, both companies. I'm happy WWE is doing great, and I was happy. I was really happy watching Wednesday and seeing AEW get the good rating and the good rating pattern.
This is the weirdest apology.
He was throbbing happy over that.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit more. I'm looking through the notes here. Brian Alvarez yells, "Don't pull me into this." He doesn't want to be involved. But Dave, I mean, the recurring message over and over again is he's sorry for a message board post he shouldn't have made, or he didn't have to make. He phrased it a few different ways. The question is, does Dave accept his role in stirring up all the drama over the last year and a half?
I don't hear that. I hear him talking about this particular incident. I don't hear him grasping the whole full concept of what the fuck's been going on, because then he would be saying the same thing we are. Look how far Tony Khan has let all this shit slide down the hill.
You know, that's to me still the big thing. Because for everyone that looks at the drama publicly being displayed or talked about now, this is not new. We've talked about it on this show going back several years now. We talked about the problems with Tony's management. We talked about drama backstage. There's a reason Cody's not there anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And until people can say, Tony is the problem, because Tony is not a boss, Tony's not a good manager, and Tony's not a good booker. He may be an okay owner and promoter, but look at what's happening with his hands all over this shit. And we'll talk about Moxley again in a little bit, but this is all because Tony doesn't know what he's doing, and he's not capable of it. He's got the money and none of the skills. But until people say that, until people want to stop pretending that Tony, well, you know, booking was better last year than it is. No, the booking's been shit from the beginning. It's just they were more successful when they had bigger stars main eventing a pay-per-view. But until people can actually say that all of these problems, if this was Vince McMahon's locker room, it would have been snuffed out. It wouldn't have gotten to this point. It wouldn't have gotten to the point a year ago. It all comes back to Tony Khan. Comments?
Oh, I thought we were going to play some more fucking audio of Uncle Dave and Cousin Drooplip analyzing this situation.
Let's give it a second or two. Let's see if they add anything new.
It was a really good story, you know, it's the match worked. You kind of made a star in one night. You know, we talked about that was a phenomenal match. So everything was kind of looking, you know, there's always ups and downs, but that was like a real up. And then now, you know, who the hell knows what's going on? I don't know what I am
God,
too close to.
Don't pull me into it.
I have to pull you into it.
I do not. No.
You're involved in it. Don't say don't pull me into it, Brian. You're involved in all this.
Oh my God. I think that clip you should save of Uncle Dave just going, I don't know what's going on.
And I want to say something too. And I always got along with Brian Alvarez. Haven't talked to him in many years. And beyond the issues that come at us since AEW, I never had a problem with Dave Meltzer. But they've complained, or I've heard Brian Alvarez, I think, make a comment, and other people in wrestling about the Cornette fans, whatever you want to call them, the cult of Cornette, the Cornette fans, the biggest listenership in the history of professional wrestling audio. And like any fan base, we've got some nutty fans. Most are harmless, but every now and then there's a nutty fan who says something stupid.
Some people anywhere that you go in the world are nuttier than squirrel shit.
And we get a few of them. And you know what? We don't typically embrace that. Remember, there was a guy a while back in, I think, Miami, jumped the rail at AEW. Almost got to Jericho. He said on Twitter that he did it. He was a member of the cult of Cornette. We both denounced him and blocked him. And even Jericho came out, to his credit, and said Jim Cornette would have never wanted you to do that. Not a real fan of his.
And then come to find out that he also, I think, claimed he did it for a few more people. He was trying to hit everybody's fan base.
But where we can and where we see things, we jump in there and correct stuff. We have a Facebook group right now. It's got over 6,700 people in there right now with tens of thousands trying to get in.
I was about to say, and we're trying, folks. We're trying to get those doors open.
And with a small group of moderators, we do our very best to keep this thing civil, keep the conversations good, keep the laughter up, keep the information coming in, and we've done a pretty good job. Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer have a message board where, like you said, the most devoted of the Wrestling Observer newsletter readers go. Not every Observer reader. It's a very small group that's on there. But it exists for a reason, because they know it's a selling point to get people to use that message board. People want to pay for that right. Maybe interact with Dave or Brian Alvarez. So for anyone who wants to say anything about the cult of Cornette, which is an incredibly large audience, and every now and then we get a few loose nuts and we try to do what we can to correct them. And it's not just people, you hear people like, oh, he's parroting Jim Cornette. Listen, it's the way fucking pop culture works. When Chevy Chase took off and people started stealing his line, no one said, "You're parroting Chevy Chase." It's just the way things work when things are popular. But for anyone to point their finger at the cult of Cornette, we do our best to regulate and keep people in line. That may not mean they like the wrestling you like, but we do what we can. They charge admission. We don't charge admission. What you do on Twitter and Facebook, we do what we can. They charge a fee to enter the gate for people to go there and post all sorts of shit. The other day, it was sent to me and I went and looked because I've been a member since it first started. I've known Brian Alvarez from back then. He used to send me my OVW tapes, actually, funny enough.
Wait a minute. Where was he getting them from? Son of a bitch, bootlegging? Oh, go ahead.
Well, he was sending me my OVW tapes, which I was very happy for because that was the M&M period. It was a great period of time there. But someone in one of the posts called me a bigot and a racist. You know, this is in the conversation of me not liking their wrestlers and me talking about stuff on these shows honestly, because I don't care if I'm friends with wrestlers. I'm going to tell you the truth. Someone on that board, some nut, probably lonely, hiding behind an alias, said I'm a bigot and a racist. If that was on the Cult of Cornette Facebook group, that comment would have been taken down. That person probably would have been thrown out if that was about Dave Meltzer or Brian Alvarez, because it's ridiculous.
Well, but now, wait a minute. These are the same people that wished us aggressive ass cancer and named the next great punk band in the process. So you mean to tell me that over there on the message board at that Alvarez and Meltzer are operating, that they're charging people to be a part of, that they're actually allowing people to go on there and slander other people, call them horrible names, and not even trying to moderate them in any way, shape, or form?
Well, they have moderators there, but these comments are left up. And I only know that because we've now put together a giant file of horrible things that have been said. That's the point. If you want to say, oh, Jim Cornette's awful because he hates the wrestling I like, or he doesn't like Japanese women wrestling. If you think he's horrible for that, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to be a boob. Have fun with that. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying they are. Will you relax?
Oh, I lost you around the far turn.
You are entitled to be a boob if you want, Jim.
Well, I'm entitled. And do you like boobs a lot, boobs a lot, boobs a lot?
But for people to pay a fee to go on their branded message board and say stuff like that because we disagree about the wrestling. And again, Dave's been on that message board. Dave started this punk drama again on that message board. Dave was running his mouth about Jim on that message board behind a paywall, hiding. So I don't want to hear any more shit about the Jim Cornette audience. The only thing you need to know about our audience, it's much bigger than yours.
Yeah.
But don't blame us. We don't charge them a fee.
And every once in a while, a blue vein shows up on the edge of it.
But again, just to reiterate once again, don't say anything bad about this audience. It's bigger than yours. We've got less nuts than yours. What does that say?
Yeah.
Jim, there are a lot of people out there that are messed up, that are lonely, that are hiding on message boards. Not the ones that are wrestlers. They're just messed up and lonely, maybe. But the lonely, messed up people hiding on message boards, desperate for their opinions to be heard. They think they're very important, but in reality, they may cry themselves to sleep. We know someone they could talk to maybe to get some help.
Well, now you've just depressed everybody. You know, it's not even the people on the message boards that need help. It's the people operating these message, the slumlords of the message boards. They're the evil ones in this because the innocent people that are patronizing these message boards, they just want somebody to talk to. And Uncle Dave's the wrong one, as the audio we have just played shows. But if you want somebody to talk to that is trained, that is professional, that has skills in this area, then you need to give BetterHelp a try. Of course, BetterHelp is a sponsor of this program, this particular episode, as it is many of our shows. And the reason why is because so many of the Cult of Cornette listeners have found some type of help, some type of solace, some type of encouragement by going to BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try because it's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, positively contortionistic, and suited to your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime you want for no additional charge. But the most important thing is it can be someone to bounce things off of or talk to or talk about ideas or just get some suggestions, positive coping skills. is a phrase that they use here in the information. It will help you learn positive coping skills and be the best version of yourself. And right now, you can discover your potential with BetterHelp, because all you got to do is go to BetterHelp, that's H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/JCE. Right now, you're going to get 10% off your first month's services. BetterHelp.com/JCE, 10% off your first month's services. And in this manner, instead of trying to go to some off-brand message board operated by someone from Campbell by the Sea, you can instead go to trained professionals that can help you eliminate the roadblocks in your life. BetterHelp.com/JCE.
That's right. BetterHelp. But Jim, let's move on here. We have more audio. Can we break up the audio with a couple questions before we play some more of this
Ask
audio?
me. I don't care what you do. As Pat Malone used to say, I'll fight you, I'll fuck you, or I'll run you a foot race.